FGC Gathering staff members Elizabeth Piersol Schmidt and Marian Dalke will introduce City Love.
Good evening. I'm Elizabeth Piersol Schmidt, Conference and Events Associate at Friends General Conference.
And I'm Marian Dalke, Gathering Youth Coordinator. Elizabeth, I love being your neighbor in West Philly.
I love being your neighbor too, Marian. And summertime in West Philly is all about hanging out on our porches. I can't wait to hear City Love perform tonight at the virtual gathering.
I know, I'm so excited to introduce them. This group is so close to my heart. Did you know they met at a party when Caselli and I lived together back in 2013?
What? Really?
I know. How could I be responsible for such powerful social chain artists to find one another? It must just be my Gemini magic. I was lucky enough that my bedroom was right underneath their practice space, so I could go to sleep listening to their tunes. And tell me what you love about City Love.
Well, City Love is a West Philly-based social justice music and education group made up of Sterling Duns, Caselli Jordan, and Emnye. Caselli and Sterling Duns are both teachers and musicians who make music for the world that we need. Emnye has recently started collaborating with the band. She's a multi-talented singer-songwriter, rapper, and all-around performing artist born and raised in West Philadelphia. Emnye is always excited to serve her life's purpose and make a difference through music.
So much West Philly pride here tonight. I love it.
Yeah.
And did you know that when our friend Joey lived here, City Love actually performed in this house?
I remember that. So magical. City Love uses songs to spread love, hope, dialogue, justice, and healing. They've shared assemblies, workshops, and performances at schools, colleges, and conferences and yearly meetings throughout the country, and recently released a young children's album about race, honoring our differences, standing up for each other, equity, self-love, and belonging.
It's a great album. I bought it for all my nieces and nibblings last year. Seriously,
Yeah.
These are some of my favorite people. I feel so fortunate to call them my community. They're always creating and caring for one another and are there for a quick joke or a deep moment of listening and sharing. City Love is genuine and true, and their music speaks to all ages about the things we all need to pay more attention to: love, history, and how to best care for one another. It's going to be a great show tonight.
From our porches to yours, it's our pleasure to introduce City Love.
Hello.
1, 2. We just grow and grow, can't stop us though. Stop us though, we just grow and grow, can't stop us though. Tenacious, we just grow. Try to round us up, just grow. That's enough, and we've been just grow. Got my CSA, just started today. And my garden blooming, just grow. People harvest, and I thank those plants just grow. You can see that my grandpa gave me this. Grandma gave you wise. Said, just grow. Let's perfect you in wise. Crazy boss at times. Oh, our souls, let's just grow our souls. 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 And we grow.
Yes, and we grow, and we grow. Grow the roots and the wings. Grow the change, be the change. Grow community. Grow hope in our souls. Alter minds all the time. Grow our souls with the whole. Yes, it just grows and grows, yes. Love to see you there, you here, you there. The movement has arrived, so alive for the new year. Plant a seed in your heart, let it grow with love that shows the love, the ebb and the flow of life. No need for unnaturals, right? If the future looks dark, we must all be the light. History repeats, let us know what we reap. Make our ancestors proud of all that they see. And we grow, and we grow. Grow the roots and the wings. Grow the change, be the change. Grow the community. Grow hope in our souls. Let's just
souls, let's just grow our souls, let's just grow our souls.
Hello,
Hello,
FGC.
everybody.
Great to see y'all.
Yes. So excited to be with you all tonight.
Yes,
And thanks for spending the evening with us. Thank you so much to FGC for having us. And we are City Love. My name is Brian Caselli Jordan.
I'm Imani Sanders Russell.
And I'm Dwight Dunston. And we are just so glad to be. We're City Love.
In case you didn't know.
In case you didn't know. And thank you, Paya and Elizabeth, for that. Marian and Elizabeth for that intro.
Yes. So much love.
Marian was the glue. Marian introduced us.
The lucky star.
Brought us together.
Star. Yes.
And so I'm gonna just do a little screen share in this little Zoom room.
Yes.
Beautiful. So we are just so excited to celebrate with y'all here tonight. And we know the theme of this year is Sink Down to the Seed Sown in the Heart. And we are just excited to really think about that with you all this evening and be in conversation with you, be connected with you through this theme. And maybe, Imani, you want to lead us through, we're just thinking about this little question that we have before we get into some more of our songs. I'm just wondering, you want to read these out?
Yeah. So we have 3 questions for you all. So the first question is, what is one seed in your heart that you hope to grow? The second question is, who in your life inspired or inspires you to nourish the virtues of that seed? The third question is, what do you think the seed needs in order to grow?
Beautiful. And so we just want to invite folks to drop their responses to these, and we'll put this in the chat as well. Maybe you all can just take a moment to just respond to those prompts that are in the chat, and we'll see as those roll in what folks have been inspired by, what the seeds they're cultivating in their own hearts, who planted those there, who's inspiring those there, and what you need to have that seed grow. So some stuff is starting to come, and I see love. Thank you, Ellie, so much. Beautiful, beautiful. Release of worry about security.
Ooh, yes.
Love you, Ingrid.
Yes.
Oh. And we'll just continue to let those roll in. Just give folks a little bit of time. Beautiful.
That first song we actually wrote many years ago for a March Against Monsanto, and it's inspired by the words of Grace Lee Boggs, who lived to be 100 and dedicated her whole life to struggles for liberation. Just an incredible activist, and she wrote a book called The Next American Revolution, and just the metaphors around plants and growth. And if you've heard of Adrienne Marie Brown, she's kind of a protege, and it's all connected. But this idea of the seeds in our heart is so beautiful and really ties into that. Really thinking what's been planted by others, what's been planted by our ancestors, what's been planted by the heroes in our lives, and what do we need to do to keep those seeds alive and help them grow.
Beautiful. And some more responses are rolling in. I'm gonna just shout out a few that I'm just seeing. I see Barbara says patience. Tony said the daily worship, Tony Patsy, daily worship at Pendle Hill. Beautiful. Marianne, racial justice. Lindsay says courage. Euclid says generosity. And we just invite folks to keep reading those, keep pouring those in. We want to welcome in all those things you all have been sowing these last few weeks in this time in our lives, in this time in the country. And so just keep pouring those in. And we're just going to hold those and nurture those this evening.
We need everybody. We need all of us with our superpowers, all these seeds to grow and flourish, because we have a lot of work to do in this world to heal. Yes.
In our garden.
In our garden.
Amen. Amen. Should we share the next song?
Yeah.
Okay. So this next song we're about to share is called Colorblind. And in keeping with the theme of seeds, this song really talks about a seed that is planted in all of our hearts that we did not want there, and that I think a lot of us are working very diligently to try and uproot. But you know, the seed of racism and white supremacy that just by virtue of growing up in this nation is something that gets planted in a lot of our hearts. And, you know, as babies, as, you know, this implicit bias, this prejudice that forms, and it's a lifelong work to try and to heal that, to try and release that. And we want to
yeah, we want to engage you all in some dialogue. And this song, Colorblind, is about our journeys of understanding the role of race in our lives. And I'll speak for myself that understanding the role of whiteness in my life and understanding how it's played out generationally throughout my family, and you know, from bootstrapping myths and, you know, this, the American dream, anybody can make it if you work hard, and just really not understanding the roles of systemic oppression. And that's, you know, if you don't get taught about that, you're not going to come up with it on your own, right?
Yeah.
And so just really understanding what kind of advantages did our grandparents have, or disadvantages that they have because of skin color and race and white supremacy in this country, and how is that continually flowing into our lives in the present moment. But yeah, we'll just get into this song. But
Born colorblind, I never understood the meaning of our skins. I never learned that we are equal but so different, running in a race that white began with such a lead. Running on the backs of others, counting dollars roll on native soil by toil of slave. Supremacy pervasive, written in the laws and taught in schools, learned on TV. Why start to wonder why rhyme can't just pick yourself right off the ground and be like white, just like whitewashed Jesus, white like founding fathers, sheriffs, judges, whites, like stars and stripes.
She said, I don't see color, it's just a human. Well, I'm happy she sees human, but there's way more to it. Erasing the color of my skin erases my experience. It feels like surface, but the deep parts are worth it. What about when police question me when I'm in your neighborhood? Did that never happen? Because you can't see my blackness. What about when work says my afro or locks are unprofessional? Did that never occur? Because you can't see my color, that's erasure. I'd rather you see the whole of me and not the holes in my story. Choosing what makes you comfortable to see.
Yes, 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 yes. Born colorblind, I never saw what it takes to make change and talk race at all. We've been walking on eggshells, rooms with elephants, comments on the past saying that it's irrelevant. But if we don't know where we come from, how we getting to the end of the road, where will we go? Oh, oh.
We are born as equals, but then some of us are fed with golden spoons while others starve. We are born as equals with 500 years of horror, drawing lines into the sand, trapped in laws and separating housing, schooling, so we may not learn that we are one but many equal, different, woven of so many vibrant strands. The warmest quilt, equal and so beautiful and strongest for our great diversity. Now prophecy.
There's joy in my color, there's joy in my culture, there's joy, there's joy, there's joy, there's joy. My ancestors have joy in this song, freedom in the rhythm, my bloodline is strength and courage and intuition. Hey, from the barbecues and the edges laid, from the brotherhood to the hip hop
just wanna hear your story. I just wanna tell my story. I just wanna see your colors. I just wanna know my colors. I just wanna tell your story. I just wanna hear your story. I just wanna tell my story. I just wanna hear your story. I just
Thank you, friends. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Going on that journey with us.
You. And so we wanted to just take a moment. Oh, Brian, maybe you want to lead us through.
Sure. So we're going to do a few spectrums. So this would be a time to be able to look at the grid view where you can see as many people as possible. And
so many.
Yeah, and what we're going to be doing, we're going to ask a question. And you're going to place yourself along that spectrum by holding up fingers. So we're going to ask you this. Here's the first spectrum. It feels hard to talk about race, or it feels easy to talk about race. And anywhere along that spectrum, if it feels easy, you can hold up one finger. If it feels really hard, that's a 5, and anywhere in between that. So think about how you're going to place yourself. Think about why that is for you.
And they can also drop it in the chat if you're not able to, if you maybe you don't have your video up, feel free to also drop it in the chat.
Good call.
Yes, yes.
But yeah, I'm going to move into the grid view so we can see as many people as possible. And
thank you for holding those up.
Yeah.
Let's take a look around. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Okay. Yeah, wow. Okay, so I wonder if we can, oh, I'm having a little trouble getting this out. All right, so let's get ready for this first spectrum, and we see some people dropping in the chat. And all those of you who are on video, this would be the time to hold up. I see some people showing fingers. So again, if it feels easy to talk about race, that's a 1. If it feels hard, that's a 5, and anywhere in between, you can place yourself. And just take a moment to scroll through the screens and see what you notice about this crucial aspect of our identities, right? And how well have we been given the tools to talk about it? How hard does it feel? How stressful does it feel?
It's even hard to talk about on the Zooming.
Yeah,
Zooming is hard.
Yes, even on Zoom it's hard. Oh my gosh.
Zoom.
It's hard anywhere, you know?
I think we're ready for our next spectrum. I think we have one more.
Yes.
And just thinking about our lives as young people, as Brian so beautifully put, we often go around to schools with young people from about 3 years old to about 10 years old, and ask them, have conversations with them about conversations about difference, about taking care of one another. And most of our earliest moments with race happen way when we're young. So this spectrum is just when you heard about race. If you remember hearing about it when you're young or talking about it, that's a 5. And then if you really heard about it, that's a 1. So let's have folks drop something in the chat as well around that. That would be great. They're coming in, or you can hold up a finger there. Beautiful, beautiful.
Take a moment to read through the chat box, see what people are putting in there, and scroll through some of the videos, see what people are holding up.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
Just a little temperature check for us to see where we're all coming from, different life experiences, different realities, different challenges as far as talking about race. And
Beautiful. Thank you all so much for engaging in that.
Yes. Awareness.
Yes.
Awareness.
I think we got another song.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's see how we're doing that time.
Dance moves.
Plenty of songs.
We got dance moves. So feel free. If you see us doing it, I'll definitely be doing dance moves. Feel free to join in at home, sing along. They're pretty easy. So
and
let's have fun.
And I need some help. I won't be able to hear you, but maybe I can see you. If you can help keep the beat snapping, clapping, playing, getting a spoon and hitting it against your cup, whatever you want, stomping, whatever's gonna keep the beat with us here. This is a song. So we recently made a children's album to really try and help young children and teachers and families to talk about race and equity and solidarity in terms that are developmentally appropriate for young learners. So we realize, prejudice forms so early on. If we don't start giving children the tools they need to make sense of the world that they're growing up in, we're letting these prejudices form, and they get more and more solid. Those seeds grow and they put down roots. So we gotta meet children early on and help them understand.
Nourish our garden with equity and love and compassion and empathy, understanding. Oh, yeah. So, once upon a time there was a boy and a girl. The girl came from far away. It felt like a different world. The boy lived down the street from the school. They both went in. One day, the boy said hi to the girl. As she walked in, she smiled and said, "Oh, wow." The boy thought it was strange. He had never really heard of that word until that day. But he smiled, waved, and extended his hand. He thought, we don't have to speak the same for us to be friends.
It may not be fair for our family. A lot of people still learning how to act kindly. We've come a long way, got such a long way, but we can make it better each day. So tell me what it's like to be in your skin, and tell me what it's like in the family you're in. I'm gonna make mistakes, but please believe that I care. I'll always do my best to listen and be there. Cause when you're with me, we're gonna make it beautiful. Gonna make it beautiful. Gonna make it beautiful. When you're with me. That's right. We're gonna make it equal. And we can show the people. And they can make the sequel.
So, as time went by, the boy and girl got close. The boy sometimes said things the girl did not know, but he never got frustrated. Patience was key. He would signal for her to help and point at something she could see, and then she would say a word and he would say it right back. And they spent all year doing exactly that. Sometimes the boy would go, they always took turns, and in a few short weeks there was so much they both had learned. And when summertime came, the boy hugged the girl and then he said, "Eres mi amiga, you are my friend." She smiled, big and happy how the year turned out. They knew patience, love, and kindness helps the world go round.
When you with me,
hey, what? We're gonna make it beautiful. Make it beautiful.
Gonna make it beautiful. Gonna make it beautiful. When you're with me,
make it
we're
what?
gonna make it equal. And we can show the people. And they can make the sequel.
Hey.
When you're with me. When you're with me.
Yes, here's the story. Two people from different walks of life find themselves in a Zoom where they had to unite. They don't understand where the other's coming from. They start yumming each other's yuck and yucking each other's yum. They take a pause and realize that all along they never took the time to see where the other is coming from. Instead of telling those stories they heard again and again, they start to write a new chapter, and here's how it begins.
I respect where you live and the color of your skin. I respect your language and your religion. Doesn't matter our clothes or how much money we got. We got each other, and that's a lot. So tell me what it's like to be in your skin.
Cause it
Tell me
matters.
what it's like in the family you're in.
It really
I'm gonna
matters.
make mistakes, but please believe that I care. I'll always do my best to listen and be there. Oh,
Yes.
when you're with me,
Hey.
woo,
We're gonna make it
beautiful.
make it beautiful. Make it beautiful. Make it beautiful. Make it beautiful.
Make it beautiful. When you're with me,
We're gonna make it what?
we're gonna make it
Make it
equal.
equal. Make it equal.
And we can show the people.
Show the people. Show the people.
And they can make the sequel. When you're with me.
Thank you, friends. I saw some dance moves out there.
Yeah.
FGC.
Mm-hmm.
FGC with the dance moves. I see y'all.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
When you're with me, TikTok.
Right. You're right. You're right.
All right.
FGC, y'all got TikTok? Y'all got a TikTok? And y'all got to put that on TikTok. Everybody just dancing.
Hey.
I'm gonna talk with the conveners, the organizers.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause that was popping.
Yes. Yeah. Beautiful. So let's see. At this point, should we try some breakout groups real quick? It's 8:42, so I think we have a little time.
I'm looking at Khalik.
Yeah, Khalik, for this next one, what do you think? Can we do some little breakout groups of 3 people?
Sure thing.
All right. Awesome. So So let's see, we got another little inquiry for you all to discuss. So that song, you know, usually we would use that song when we're doing an assembly for 300 elementary school students and get them to talk with a partner about this. And, you know, something that we always come back to, because for our first many years together, we worked with college age students, high school, middle school, and, you know, we were at senior homes, everywhere in between, you know. But it was only in the last 2 or so years that we started working with younger students. But we found that the messages are so universal, and it's kind of saying the exact same things, but in language that hasn't been sort of filled with some of the polarization and the negative connotations that you get from pundits, etc. You know, things that haven't been politicized in the same way. But the considerations are timeless, and it's something that we all need to grapple with. And so with this song, we usually use it as a chance to think about, you know, what was the time that someone stood up for you in your life, and how did that feel? To really think about what is our power to intervene, to stand up for others who may not have a voice in a moment, who may not have the same privilege and power and access that we have. You know, but yeah, what does it felt like to have someone stand up for us? You know, I think that we had.
Oh, I put them in the chat, right?
Oh,
what was the time?
I have a story. Sometimes we share like stories in between like our songs, whatever. But I'm gonna make it quick because I know we don't have a lot of time.
Hey,
but I recently saw yesterday. I saw a video. It was around police brutality, and this black man was being detained, and he wasn't being told like why, wasn't being read his rights, etc. And there was another black man on the pavement that was not only recording it, but like telling the cop like, no, read him his rights, tell him why he's being detained, and like kept pressing, like, why are you doing what you're doing? And then the cop kept asking him to leave, and he was like, I'm not leaving until you let him go, and I know that he's safe. And it was like a crowd of people surrounded by him, and they were like trying to protect him and tell him like, we're not gonna just sit here and record. We're also gonna ask you your badge number, ask you what your name is, like, and make you like treat this person correctly or whatever. And they wound up letting him go because everybody, like, number one, the black man that was recording was educated and like kept pressing them. But number two, there was a crowd of people that were like, we know our rights and we're not gonna let you like take him. And on the camera, he was like, no, like, I will really die over this. Like, you're not gonna do this to this person. And it was so just like, it just was really intense, but it was I guess encouraging as far as like protection amongst black people to see somebody not only like record so that they will expose the police people and the police members involved, but also to be like, no, I'm protecting this other black man. I'm not just gonna record. I'm gonna ask you questions. I'm gonna get your badge number. Like, so yeah, and then just emphasize that how educated people need to be and that how much they care about each other. So I've never seen and there's been a lot of videos with police brutality. So I've never seen something like that happen. So it was really just like, yeah, we protect each other.
Wow, standing up for one another.
Yeah, in a big way. Like, that was a huge risk. Considering what happens, that was a huge risk. And he didn't know the guy, like, at all. They didn't know each other.
So that sounds like a perfect example of somebody standing up for you, or where someone stood up for someone else. And I believe these words are true, because I believe in you.
I believe in you, and I believe our love can open doors once locked, like rain can soften rock. I believe in you, and I believe our love can soothe the hardened hearts, like streams make mountains part. I believe in you, and I believe our love can wash this all away, like tide on sandy bay. I believe that soon they will see what we see, that they'll dream what we've dreamed. I believe.
Yes, check it. I know it's hard, we're earthbound, dreaming on stars, thinking that it's too far, it'll never be ours. I'm here to tell you that together love can open rate of people reaching the ocean, vast reaching the outer space. Nothing's an obstacle, no vision unobtainable. Don't believe in impossible. Nothing will be the same with you, and nothing will be the same with us. And And all it took was a little trust
I
to see what
believe
we've been missing,
soon
to make realities from wishes.
they will see
We get caught up in the logical,
what we see,
don't realize what is possible.
that they'll dream
I believe in love, truth, and
what
empathy.
we
You will
dream.
guarantee those things when you get
I
with me.
believe,
I believe these words are true.
believe.
FGC, cause I believe in you.
Yeah, I believe in you, and I believe our love will bless us all one day. Will bless us come what may.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. So grateful to have you, be here with you. So grateful for you for having us. Once again, I'm Dwight Sterling Dunston.
I'm Imani Sanders Wrestler.
I'm Brian Caselli Jordan.
And we are City Love. Love you.
Night.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, City Love. That was just wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Deeply grateful.